Well, not every educator has embraced online learning. Some even see it as a threat that could lower student outcomes and cost teachers jobs. But our next guest says online learning and the traditional classroom isn't an either-or choice. David Cillay is director of Washington State University's Global Campus, and I sat down with him here in our studio. So Dave, how is digital technology changing today's classrooms?
Primarily with convenience and improved student learning. With a lot of the digital technologies that we're employing, it allows students to experience higher education in different ways they wouldn't have imagined a decade ago. And there's also tools that are allowing us to improve what we do as students. Tools like adaptive learning, where we can tailor learning experience to individual students, yet they're still involved in a classroom.
Mm-hmm. How are you approaching it at WSU with your global campus?
Our global campus does completely online degree programs. Our primary focus is extending Washington State University throughout the state, throughout the country. And we've really focused on establishing online degree programs that mirror the quality that you'd see on campus. So we use the same faculty, we use the same curriculum. It really is a Washington State University degree.
You know, one of the most common criticisms I hear about online learning is that there's a lack of student engagement and there's a high dropout rate. How is WSU, how's your global campus, how have they approach that?
By using our on-campus faculty, it's part of their job. They're teaching an online course. It's not an overload. It's not something extra. It's their job. And we work very hard to help faculty understand how to be effective in an online environment. You know, you would think in a digital classroom, we incorporate a number of different types of technologies, very innovative technologies. But if we get a student complaint, it's very rarely about the type of tools we use. It's the lack of faculty engagement in that particular course. And so the faculty are extremely important to our online courses. Some universities approach it as a published, I'm publishing my course and once I publish it, it's done. We work very hard to help our faculty understand, and they do a very good job of executing this, that it is an engaged classroom just like you would have on campus.
Could we see the laws of supply and demand come into play here? I know in my own industry of television, as the advent of online video has come about, we have seen our pie get bigger, but the slices get a lot narrower. Could we see with online classes less brick and mortar classes?
I don't think so. I think you're never going to replace that experience for the 18 to 22-year-old who's coming to campus for that full experience. Even with the growth of our online programs, our freshman class is as large as it's ever been. We've really grown in our on-campus programs as well. I think you hit it on the head. I think what we see is the market is expanding. And so like with things like MOOCs and online education, you're seeing a market open up for students that would have never set foot on a traditional campus. And now they have access to those programs. And in many ways, I see the online education as complementary to the on-campus rather than competitive.
So as digital delivery just continues to grow, could students that are taking these online classes, could they someday have like a cafeteria approach, that I take a class from this expert at University X and then another class from expert at University Y?
I think so, and that does happen. It's personalized learning. Some students are a la carting their courses, but at WSU, most of our students want to connect with Washington State University. They want to be part of that institution. They want to be an alumnus of Washington State University. And so they stick with us for the majority of the program. Many of them come in with an AA degree from a community college, but they look to Washington State to provide their courses.
Well, there are plenty of people from state capitals to Congress to just on the street that are highly critical of the cost of higher education. Is the digital classroom, is digital delivery, is that a possible solution to the high inflation that we've seen in higher ed?
I'll talk about that from the approach we've taken. We have tried, and I think we've done it successfully, to mirror the quality of an on-campus degree. We want to provide the same type of experience that you'd have on campus. To do that, we use the same operational model that we do on campus by using our on-campus faculty to teach our online courses. We don't pay overload, we don't hire additional adjuncts, we use the same model. And so Our instructional costs are identical. Our tuition prices are identical as well. What you save in our model is the buildings, but that comes from a different budget. That doesn't come from your operational budget. So on our end, with the approach we've taken, I don't see it reducing the cost of education for students. There are some models out there, depending on how you approach it. You hire a lot of adjuncts, you create 1,000-piece seat capacity in a course, and then yes, you can reduce the cost of an education, but I would be wary of the product you buy. If that's what you're buying, I would argue, and again I'm biased, I would argue that our experience with engaged faculty is a better experience than those lower cost solutions.
I want to talk to you about customer service, and this is from my own family's perspective. My daughter is a U.S. Marine. She's in the final year of getting an accounting degree, every one of those classes online. And I'm not going to criticize any university, but she went to a couple of different ones and wasn't very happy with the customer service until she finally found one that she was. How critical will customer service be in this online education world?
Essential. And that's one of the reasons that at Washington State we established a global campus. That really is a commitment that service is going to be there. So it isn't something that happens out of a college. It's not something additional that we do. We've got the infrastructure in place to support those students at a distance. And all of our staff understands what it means to be a student at a distance, a student away from campus, and we're committed to provide that service. I think that is one of the pieces that's essential to, as I said, providing that quality educational experience for those students, because they don't have the ability to walk into financial aid. They don't have the ability to walk into admissions. They were relying on that customer service through a distance technology, be it web conferencing, a phone, email, and they need that immediate support.
Mm-hmm. Can you understand the reluctance that faculty may have with this whole new way of delivering what they do?
Oh, of course, of course. You think about a faculty member in a university. Most, if not all, were raised with the model that they employ on campus. They were excellent students, sitting in a classroom, listening to a faculty member educate them. And they are familiar with that model. Thinking about a different way of doing it is oftentimes uncomfortable for someone who has done it one way for so long. But you think about society, and we bank online, we shop online, we date online. It seems to be just like a natural progression that higher education would move in that direction. And as faculty become familiar with that experience, I think they become more comfortable with those tools and that environment. And our students are pushing us in that direction. They're expecting that convenience and that flexibility.
And I think you make a really good point. While students may be ahead of all of us here, what about parents? What do parents think about this online degree? Are they willing to pay the same amount of money for an online degree as they would for a brick and mortar degree?
Yeah, I think it depends on the parent. We hear from parents that they don't want their students their children taking online courses. They don't see it as the same rigor or quality. And we've got other parents that embrace it, that it's a skill set that they want their students to have, and it provides a convenience for them so that they can get into the courses that they need.
Does the ultimate success of digital delivery, does it hinge on not the student, not the parent, but industry's adoption of recognizing that degree as an equal to a brick and mortar degree?
I think so. For what we've done is we've created one degree. And it doesn't matter if you take it online or if you take it on campus. What we are doing is we are certifying that the experience that the student has and the credential that they come away with is identical, either on our Pullman campus, on our Vancouver campus, on our global campus.
Final question. You have been doing this in the trenches. What's the future going to look like?
I think the future's bright. I think digital technology opens up so many possibilities for universities, for faculty, and for students to do things in ways that we haven't even dreamt of doing them, and provides that convenience and flexibility and maybe even cost savings for students.
All right. Dr. David Cillay, thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much.